Are you excited about gelli printing? All right, so color-wise, I love my golden paints, and I love transparent colors because they layer beautifully. So knowing a little bit of color theory really does help, because what happens if I layer the turquoise over the magenta, I'm gonna get purple, but eventually you're gonna end up with mud if you're not careful. So I have a bunch of colors here. I'll try to tell you what I'm using as I put it down. I'm gonna be thoughtful about those layers. And who knows how it'll turn out, but let's start with my favorite color right now. This is a brayer. It's called a soft brayer, not a hard brayer, which means it's a little bit like squishy to the touch. And then you saw how much I put out? That was actually probably too much. And I'm gonna go ahead and roll it out as thin as possible. And then I have this paper here on the side because it's my discharge. All right, you might not see all of this. My dad, I was showing him what a gelli plate was the last time he came to visit, and he wanted to experiment, and it turned out that when you write with a graphite pencil on a gelli plate, it doesn't ever really come off. So there you go. Now it's on here. Depending on your climate, it can dry really fast. So I'm just going to go ahead and go quick just to show you. We're going to press this down. I never waste the paint. So you see I've discharged this here. Even this piece, after I've kind of squished it in here and I pull it up and it's leaving a print, I'm going to take that paint and I'm going to print it on this side paper here. So I'm kind of doubling up. See? Kind of doubling up my impact with this. And then I can just take this and we'll start by seeing how this print just is going to be pretty simple, straightforward with a texture, but you can always layer, collage, and it does look really pretty. See? So you let those dry. They dry pretty fast. Now let's go for the next. I've got pink there. I think it would be nice to use a little bit of Indian yellow hue, just a little. And I'm going to use gold. I love gold so much. How you clean. The brayers I leave and let them dry, and they build up a lot of layers. Eventually some of it might peel off, but it's fine. I just roll them off and see how I've discharged now. There's not much color left here. So I don't really clean my brayers as I go. I let them go. So we're going to go for some goldy gold colors, and whatever's underneath is going to pull up now. And I'm going to double up my stenciling. We can start by just seeing what happens if we use this. I am feeling very floral, and I'm going to just take up some of that paint by going like this. And then you have to push into all of those little spots that you can see through the paper where all the texture of the stencil is. And this is my thought process in creating with the gelli plate, is to build layers. And these are very basic. There's so many clever techniques. Now look at, that looks beautiful, but then the layers over the pink look really nice. And then when I pull this off, I have a print that's going to look really lovely. But what I'm going to do first, instead of going to print it right now, I'm going to let it dry for a minute. And once it's dry, I'm going to put another layer of paint over it and pull the whole print off. And that is my favorite layering technique. I think I might just do it on paper. I like using the copy paper because it's thin enough that I can then use it in collage. I have used heavier paper. As long as it's smooth and clean, it should pull everything off. That leaf stencil, by the way, was a Stencil Girl stencil, I believe. Really love the shape of it. I love organic or graphic. I'm less into very stylized. So on my next color choice, I think this is dry enough. Once it starts getting dry, the next layer won't pull up the underlayer, so that it won't pull it up while you put the paint on. But then when you go to pull up with the paper, when you do your print, it's going to look really lovely. All right, so I'm carefully rolling out all this green paint. This is green gold. So I'm going to be making like this really pretty spring green look. And I'm going to roll this over on this side, and then I'm going to pull up using this. I'm going to push it down, and especially getting those edges, because I find that the edges around the gelli plate hold a lot of the leftover paint from the layers before, and they really start building up really beautiful, interesting layers that almost create a work of art in and of itself. Here we go. Oh yeah, so you can see that. Hopefully you can see it well enough. The texture of the leaf didn't show up as bright as I expected, but it's such a beautiful, and I like it when it does this kind of like rough edges, almost like an old photo or an old work of art. Anyhow, another pretty start. Let's see, let's move on from there. One of my favorite colors, turquoise. And I'm going to go ahead and roll that out. There was still a little green left on my brayer. And I want to move this because I like this piece, so I'm moving it out of the way. Here's something you can do. Take texture. This is like a Princeton makes these brushes here. Now I'm making like my own texture. And we're going to see how that turns out. Let's just go ahead and do it on another piece of Gelli paper. And I'm going to do this light and quick so that I leave a lot behind. So look at how cool that looks. And that's going to dry and I can put more layers on it. But now I've got this here happening. As you see, I'm talking and letting this dry because I pulled off a layer. If I let this dry a little and then add another layer on it, I'm going to get some interesting textures happening here. And that's my favorite thing to do. So with this one, what color do I feel like doing? Well, if I use yellow, it's going to turn green, right? So we know our color theory, it's important. So I'm going to put in a little bit of yellow. And let's see. Yeah, it'll look really cool. Then I'm going to go ahead and just use another texture making and use regular size bubble wrap here. Just on this side though. I'll put it down right here so I can use it up. Remember? Yep, that's kind of cool. And then I'm going to put this here and take one of my pages. I'm going to pull up as much as I can. I'm going to do this a couple times because I like this print and I want to keep using it. Then we're going to have another layer dry that we have to pull up. We can do that though, right? You got to get creative with how you're doing this. There's so many ways. Some of the YouTube videos I've seen are just amazing. So I'm being careful here not to get it on the rest of this. Some of my very favorite, let's see. You know, Julie Fifan Balzar, she has some great Gelli printing. Robin Marie, who's a guest artist for me in the past, has done some really amazing Gelli printing as well. You could learn from her. Give a shout out for anyone that you know that teaches Gelli printing really well. See, that ended up pulling that whole section off because I wasn't being careful, but that's okay. Now this is kind of looking cool, but I don't want to be done quite yet. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to let that dry. I've got this here that's creating all kinds of weird texture, right? Then I'm going to use white. White is opaque. White Fluid Liquitex Professional Gesso is going to be opaque, which means when we pull this up, we're more likely to see the design, I hope, because whatever's on top is going on the bottom of your design on your page. I don't know if you really think about those kind of reverse effects because that's what touches the page first, right? So now let's pull it all up and see if that worked, or if I'm going to have to just keep going with more layers. But do you notice I haven't cleaned it at all? Because I keep layering to see what happens next. And I've got a really pretty, like very bright lime green looking piece with all kinds of crazy textures, which I love. And I love what's left here. So let's just play around with that. I'm going to do that one and a little bit of, so that's teal and this one's Indian yellow hue. I'm going to roll those out separately, and I still have a little paint on here, so it's kind of creating all kinds of cool textures. We'll go ahead and make some marks here. Still being very thoughtful of my color palette, colors, my color patterns. Okay, so let's do some texture here. I'm going to go ahead and do texture first. I'm going to use these little plates because they're pretty fun. I'm moving that so that I can print it, if there is much print to come up, because there's a lot of paint on this. And I am doing just, you know, this is just basic Gelli printing. And I'm going to pull up some flowers. And I love that I can just get more layers on all of this. And I think I'm starting to get to the point where this is drying out a little bit. I don't mind. Here, I think I want that flower there. I think one of my favorite, most satisfying projects was definitely using nature and layering that to create my prints. So maybe I'm gonna have to put that on my to-do list since I'm not going much of anywhere but for a walk. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna leave that side. So it's already drying, so I'm gonna pull some up here. So you don't have to make a perfect square. That's an interesting texture. And that way I can do my next layer. I can go back to doing gold again, I guess. I wish I had more pink. I would have to mix pink. I do have red though. Red would be weird because, you know, red and blue is going to just create more, and the greenish, it's going to create more mud. I think I could probably pull it off with this one. How's that? I have a feeling these colors are going to be really pretty. And I want a bigger layer of floral. I have found these really strange ones actually on Amazon. I should put those in the cart on my list of favorites. I have a circle jelly plate. I don't know if that's what I want to use. But I'm going to wait here and make up my mind and then end up with nothing if I don't hurry. I'm going to try the brown paper because I think that the design there will be... I'm just going to pull a little bit off the middle. Look at that. Now, I'll take a piece of white paper. Now look at how cool this is with that many layers, how colorful and wild this piece turned out. I can see that like being on the front of an art journal or something. So I love how this texture and pattern, you can't really plan it. That's the thing about it. You really do just have to keep playing and playing until it all makes sense to you. Oops, sorry. I'm wiggly again. But yeah, there you go. Shall we keep going? Just a couple more. This is just a quick play demo so that you can see the potential of making really fun, playful prints, using them in your mixed media and collage. That's the goal. I'm just going to layer a little bit more. These colors might not turn out perfect, but no one cares, right? No perfection. What we really care about is having fun, especially with the Gelli plate. If you get all hung up on needing perfect prints, you are not going to enjoy this process, I'm telling you. This is really, definitely, without a doubt, a process that just needs to let go and just have fun. I think these were a load of fun, so why not layer a little bit more and see what happens. I'm really, like I said, I'm really into florals right now. My goal, so we're talking about what's happening in True Colors next, and my goal is to, for our theme is Playful Spirit, and I worked really hard this last session on all these big paintings, so my goal is to like get really wacky and playful and then paint, I don't know, paint shoes or paint a chair or paint my wall or I don't know, create collages, do some more stamp carving, all those kinds of wild things. That's what I'm really looking forward to experimenting with my next time around. But, you know, throw some crazy ideas my way. Gelli printing is just the beginning. We'll take those. I'm going to take the collage elements and make big floral collage mixed media. I want to make more journals. I want to paint. I do have a pair of white Converse that I want to paint. Look at how fun that is. Now that, because there was no color on the background, they have very much this sharp white graphic design. But I can see that that could still turn into something pretty amazing. And what color is going to go best? Let's go for something. I'm afraid if I go dark, it's not going to pop off, but that is opaque. So let's just try. We have to just try, okay? Really light. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and use a music sheet and cross my fingers. And it's not even even. Look at that whole line over there that I missed. Silly, silly. All right, that's pretty, but I was right. It's a very light hint. You can see it. So probably make great collage material, but it's not really strong. That's the risk you take when printing. I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that? Can you make prints that don't turn out right and be okay with that? That's my question. Look, I've got a bunch of fun stuff happening. I have all kinds of layers. All right, you guys, so in the end, what I like to do is just take baby wipes, because whatever's in them, you can just take soap and water as well. And if you have a tip on what's the best way to do it, but I find that this is so perfect and convenient. And just clean it up gently with my baby wipe, and then put it back in its plastic case that it came with, because that plastic case keeps it flat, keeps the gel flat on it, because it will mold if you left it on something with texture. It'll mold to that texture, and then it won't be perfect anymore. If you have questions about Gelli printing, I do recommend contacting Gelli or going to their site, because it's a wealth of information. Like I said, there's still so much for me to learn. Some of the techniques I love to do, I've been trying to do image transfers using different types of textures. I hope that was fun. Hopefully you'll have fun and just play with it, because that's the most important thing, is to just play. And that in playing and doing and even in failing, that's going to be how you learn the most. All right, so go play, go make some more art. Bye.